getting all the
Hello,
humans
hello,
in.
hello.
Hello. Hello. Good morning. I see Tim. Oh, wait, where did Tim go? He was here.
He
Oh,
was
there
here
he
for a
is.
minute, yeah.
I was like, there he is. I'm like, Tim's there. I think we see Colton, maybe. Let's see.
Who's Plat Play?
That's Colton.
Oh, hi, Colton. There's Brooke, and there's Tim.
hmm
Cool.
There we go. Hi,
Hi,
guys.
Jim. Hi, guys and gals.
Hello,
I just got
guys
back
and
from a
gals.
hike, so it's gorgeous here.
Yeah.
Oh, always.
Went up to
I'm
a
jealous.
waterfall, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice.
Oh,
Looks like Tim's still connecting. All right, well, let's get this road on the show. It is 12:03, so that's my fault. I was just trying to figure out how to click to let everyone in, but I was getting rid of everyone's note takers, including my own. So welcome, Miss Susie. You want to kick us off and then we
Yeah,
can go for it?
excited to be here. Yeah, excited to be here.
yeah.
Um, I had some questions. I'm open to anything. Ask me anything, AMA, to talk about leadership, communication, scaling. I had a couple questions about the presentation I did in San Diego. I'm happy to revisit that. Jim was there. Great to see you there. And Colton, welcome. Welcome to the mastermind and to your first, I think it's your first AMA, maybe second. We're so glad to have you as part of the group. Anybody have anything quick they want to start with? Otherwise, I'm happy to dive into a couple of the questions I got from that.
Tim, Tim, did you have FOMO? Did you have a little bit of FOMO? Like maybe like 5% FOMO?
Yeah, 5% FOMO. When I was snorkeling, I was thinking about going, but
Snorkeling.
it's a good
I know,
5%.
I know, I know. Awesome.
Where
Welcome.
were you snorkeling?
On the Big Island.
Oh, right, you were in Hawaii. We have no sadness for you.
No
Have you?
sympathy.
Yeah. We stayed in Airbnb where they filmed some TV show called Temptation Island or some movie. I don't know, but that's where we stayed for 3 days afterwards. So it was great.
That's
Awesome.
great. So, any questions that you want to start with, or do you want me to dive into some of the questions I got
Well,
from
well, well, I wasn't there, so hopefully your questions maybe bullet point what you said. Maybe that's what you're going to do with these questions. That would be great.
Jim? Was there? Jim, do you have any questions for me?
No, I really don't. Did a great presentation.
So, thank you. Appreciate that. Tim, we talked about pivoting to scale and 3 pivots leaders needed to make to scale. Pivot to from producer to leader. Um, that was a big one, and what it meant. You're familiar with that, I believe, and just kind of pivot to people. Like if you are the bottleneck, if you are the problem solver, if everybody comes to you and can't be self-directed on their own, you have a really good job that you can't leave and go snorkeling from. A lot of entrepreneurs get into business and they end up just having a job that would pay them more than anybody else would, but they're um, reliant on their phone and their email, and they can't leave. And so part of the work I do with people is help them move from that place into actually a true leadership role, which requires a lot of work with your people. We talked about pivoting, and we talked about why that's important, and how the example of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. We talked about pivot to engage and having conversations you would normally avoid because it's just easier to avoid until you realize you're tripping over a big pile of problems and how much money they're costing your company. And then what to do as you are willing to face kind of the storm of going through hard to get to good. That it's about a 1.5 times someone's salary to replace them. And there's still numbers out on quiet quitting when people are in your work quitting. And then pivot to possibility, just kind of what opportunities are available you're missing. And the power of something like the mastermind, where you're in rooms with people who have done more than you've done different than you've done, think bigger than you think. And I know for me, every time I'm in that room, I'm like, mind blown by something says. It's not always the speaker. Sometimes it's a conversation on the yacht for the white party where you hear something, you go, I hadn't thought about it that way. That really opens up a new door to possibility. And if I walk through that, how will my business scale? So that's happened to me multiple times. And so possibility to me includes proximity. So that's kind of where we talked about it. One of the main questions I got was on that last one, when you have a lot of possibility, and how do you move in between the good and the great? And so the question is, what do I do when I've got lots of good options? How do I pick a great one when, as you begin to grow in awareness, possibilities are endless. And it is true that possibilities are endless. The best person that I ever learned this answer from is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett attributes his success to saying no 95% of the time, which is a lot of good stuff. Warren Buffett, as you can imagine, is invited to a lot of good things, investments and opportunities. And having a filter based on vision, priorities, the KPIs that you're using for your business as a filter that you are committed and accountable to using to make your decisions. So, because a lot of times business owners. Sorry, Jim, what were you saying?
Passive income.
I think I'm going to mute you.
Jim, were you saying something and I missed it?
Hello, Lavina.
I think he's got a speaker going. It's okay.
Okay.
What's up, Aaron? I see Aaron's hand up.
Yeah, I had a question for you. So, hi, Susie. Good to see you, even though it was just the other day. But here's my question. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and leadership teams, right? And they all tend to be, as we all are, at some sort of cusp, right? A growth cusp. Like, for example, some of them, a lot of entrepreneurs are doing 2 or 3 million and they're trying to get to like 6. Or my sweet spot, I tend to work with people doing 7, 8, 9 million, trying to become an 8-figure business and do 10 million or above. We talk about the changes that need to happen a lot. Okay. I don't want to talk about that. I work with smart people. They know better. My question to you is, why do smart entrepreneurs that you and I both work with in different capacities, what are their holdups to these growth? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? What do you find in your experience? Is there a common roadblock, I guess, to growth that we need to address? Or does that question make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And
Okay.
I'm going to answer it in a way that that's probably unexpected. It's not the what, it's the patterns. It's not that, are they anxious? Are they fearful? Are they risk averse? Are they not confident? That's the detail. The reason they don't is because they have ingrained patterns that drive their behaviors that, if they aren't interrupted and examined, continue. If you want to understand people, start watching their patterns, trust their patterns, and growth, unless they are in a self-leadership growth, plan that's intentional, they will do what they have always done. It's why you watch, it's kind of like, just like the dolphins, you come on up in porpoising, going up and down. It's hey, they hit 3 and then they do something and so they're back down to 2.5. I know maybe this year we'll get to 5, but it's just 3.2 and then they're back down. Or they're at 7 and they go between 7 and 9 and they can't cross into 10. And when you look back at the data of how they've invested their time and resources, which include people and money, it is a pattern. It's a pattern that has served them. And that pattern is so ingrained that unless you disrupt it and identify it and make intentional shifts to rewire your brain to follow a different pattern, it doesn't change. We lived on the road in an RV for a while, 4 years. And every time we moved, I had to find another grocery store. Think of how many times you go to the grocery store or the gas station without a thought. You get in your car, you drive to your favorite store, you park probably in the same place, you go through the store the exact same way. Well, that pattern disrupt meant I had to learn geography, or I had to get really good friends with Siri and my GPS. So it's patterns. And those patterns can be, they always lead to anxiety, or they lead to sabotage, but it's patterns. It's look at your patterns. And they're committed to their patterns because they're comfortable.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great question.
My follow-up is like, how we like train our dogs and cats, like you give them a little treat at the end. Do you have a
I thought
treat?
you were going to say shot collars.
Oh my gosh, Susie, let's be positive today. My goodness, that's the Georgia girl coming out on you right there. Well, I know you're not a Georgia girl, but it's rubbing off on you. I'm just saying.
It's the East Coast girl in me. Shot collars.
I was trying to make a funny joke of a question there of like, do you have a little treat for entrepreneurs we can give them to reinforce good habits? But never mind. So,
No.
shot collars, lesson learned. No, I'm writing that down. Shot collars. I don't even need to know more.
Here's the sad part. It's why we buy aspirin. It's why the aspirin market is better than the vitamin market. People will do what they need to, and that's kind of, as much as I'm being jokey, it's treats don't work nearly as well as shock collars. And I'm not a fan of shock collars. I'm sorry, like that, like don't hear that. I don't even have a dog anymore. But this idea of people stay the same until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. And I'm all about mindset and motivation. I mean, you know that, but we have to have a moment where we have to say, this isn't working. So do I think carrot and the stick works well? Not long term. New carrot, new stick, too much work. So treats, not so much, but a profound sense of awareness of what is this costing me? We worked with a client the other day and we were looking at a 3% change that was costing them $432,000 a year. And suddenly those extra expenditures in swag and culture boosters were, you know, a percent of their profits. And suddenly they're like, oh, wait, is there another way we can do this? So you've got to get to what's the pain, what's the cost of the pain, or what's the payoff of this pattern. I don't find treats that work for beyond a short amount of time.
Payoff, treats. I think we're in the same lane.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no, thank you so much.
That kind of reminds me of the callback music though, right? Like we play callback music and day one by after lunch, people know to get up and come back. We don't even have to remind them. The same thing, right? Like creating the space.
Yeah, I wish it was day one. I still had to yell at Jim. I still had to yell at Jim
Like
pretty
it
much
was the
after every
after.
play.
She was
Tim
being
and Tony.
positive.
I was trying to be polite and positive, sir. I'm turning a new leaf. Not really.
Well, and if
I
we
know.
go back, so let's play with that. Let's talk about human behavior. I'm fascinated by human behavior because it's very predictable. There was engagement that happened with people who got there first. There was one time in the room where Aaron was standing there and he got into a conversation with someone who got to the front row pretty quickly. And they were getting some of the wisdom from Aaron and some personal attention. And all of a sudden, some of the other people filled in instead of going right to the back row, they came into the front row and sat down. So part of the payoff was this individual moment, this connection, and suddenly call it a treat, call it a payoff. Getting into the room earlier had more value than just being on time. And so linking it to something valuable, you know, by the end, it wasn't just, you know, okay, here comes the music. It was, hey, let's get our seats. And there were people who had interactions with some of that leadership or with one another. Like there was this idea of payoff to make it worth the effort. So yeah.
Good times. I love that. I am curious though, when it comes to, you just talked about the pattern and the way that the pattern has served people or whatever. Do you find that at some point people become aware of that pattern and kind of make changes, or are they like, how do you deal with someone who like doesn't acknowledge the pattern or kind of has a little bit of awareness but doesn't like move through or like doesn't want to shift or make the change? I'm curious.
Okay, there's three questions there. I'll answer one at a time. So the first question is, people usually don't become aware of their patterns unless there is a pain point or a pressing in. If there is a some level of awareness that builds or consequence. So let's take us as leaders. Okay, if you find at the that you have an employee that is always late, and it's just easier not to deal with, you're reinforcing that pattern. And they've now created an awareness that's not a big deal. How is that going to change? It's going to change with a conversation of, hey, and it's as simple as, I've noticed this and it's costing this, and here's how we're going to change it. So awareness usually either external stimulus or, and this is something that's so unique about Breakthrough Mastermind members, is we are driven by growth. So there is this intrinsic, like, am I growing? Am I improving? What's my 1%? What's my word? What's my investment in myself to grow? If you've got that mindset, then you're usually looking for patterns. You're in an awareness mindset, and you'll receive feedback from a team member, and it'll be like, oh, okay, right, I've heard that 2 or 3 times, or a peer, and you lean into that. That is not the norm. And I think we get real spoiled because we believe that people think like we think and live like we do. And as an employer, that's not often the case. So then you become the one who has to interrupt the patterns of other people. Once you interrupt a pattern and identify a pattern, then there's buy-in. You know, okay, what's the benefit of choosing to no longer be late? And if they choose to no longer be late, you know, is there a payoff? Well, they get to keep their job, or they might get more responsibility, or, you know, the team morale will improve. And so when you can link behavior to personal benefit, that's always better. And I believe all growth starts with awareness. And once we're aware, we then are accountable. You can't unsee or unlearn what you've seen and learned. You can put your head in the sand and pretend, but the cost of that's even higher, because the people around you, your peers, will say, oh, you're ignoring it. Got lots of love from Marissa. So accountability is a big one. Awareness, accountability, and then intentional action. Intentional action. Awareness, action, accountability. That's really how you disrupt and change patterns.
So let me
Good
ask you a
question.
question. Let me ask you a question
Sure.
about the accountability piece on that. So
Mhm.
I'm on the cusp of hiring employees and expansion because I have all these good things. And so I have to go maybe Warren Buffett on quite a few of them and choose. But I don't have a physical board of directors. I have a virtual board of advisors,
Mhm.
but I don't have a physical, you know, I have mentors, obviously. So one of my issues currently is I have awareness of patterns that are not serving me the best way, but the pain of changing my pattern is so great. It's so uncomfortable that I distract myself on purpose because I want to focus on what my unique abilities are and not on the other stuff. So it probably would be good to have accountability at my level. I
So
don't.
here's a framework for you. Here's a
Yeah.
framework for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use me as an example. My brain works really fast. And I was in a leadership role and I realized I was interrupting because I was getting to the end of the road really fast. And it was not a good look for me as a leader, and it was not helpful on the team I was leading. And so the first part of the framework is you declare the problem. The problem is I'm interrupting. I'm not listening well. It doesn't matter why. It's not a good thing. Unless I'm interrupting to ask a question on clarity, like, hold on a second, do you mean this? Or can you give me some clarity around that? You know, that's a different kind of, that's disruption, and versus I'm interrupting to go faster. Declare the problem. Hey, when we're in meetings, if I interrupt you, I'm working on non-interrupting. I'm owning totally it. To declare the problem. My commitment is I want to get better. I want to slow down and make sure I pay attention to what's not being said, and to make sure that you feel like you've had your full chance to be heard. I may disrupt to ask a question for clarity, but my goal is not to interrupt to get to a solution faster. When I do that, so declare the problem, talk about what you want to own, the commitment, what I want to change. When I do that, you have permission to go, time out, Suze. Time out, Suze. You're not listening. Hold on. Time out. And I, in that moment, will not be defensive, reactive. I'll go, right. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead. I won't be perfect. I'll mess it up. Please be patient with me. And I will then check in over time. And suddenly I've set up accountability. And when I did that, I learned to be better at non-interrupting. And it was hard in the beginning because I had lots of good reasons for it. I'd go, nope, you're right. Tell me again. Slowing down my brain. What am I missing? And so accountability, when you do it well, you own the problem, you declare your commitment, you give them some tools to engage with you in accountability. So for you, if you've got someone who is in your virtual board of directors, which is fine, it doesn't have to be physical, and you say, you know what, I chase the easy solutions and I got to work on this hard one. And so I am committed to, for 90 days, not saying yes to a new opportunity until I master this. Here's what it looks like when I distract myself and kid myself into thinking that no, this is good. Like, nope, you're creating, you're not optimizing. You have permission to go, hold on, Tim, what day is it? It's day 67. It's going to get really harder on day 67. And on day 91, we'll have a conversation. Thank you for that reminder. You don't get to give yes and buts and ands. Okay, thank you. I'm working on it. So when we set up accountability, we own that we are the problem and we're asking for support in becoming the solution, because we are also the solution.
That's really good. And Marissa, by the way, Marissa, you're one of my virtual board members because you have enough content out there for my bot to pull stuff from you. So thank you for
Oh
all your.
goodness. Oh goodness
you for-
gracious.
Aaron, you don't have your book out yet, and it's not downloadable or anything. So like when you do that,
Yeah, it is.
you can join my board.
Oh,
He does?
I can actually send you Aaron's GPT where you can ask
Marissa
Aaron all
made
the
one.
questions that you
I'll give
want.
you.
If
You
you
have
if
full
you
rights
I'd
to,
love to
to
see
add
that.
me in,
I'd
Tim.
love to see
Marissa
I
that.
would
will.
love
Yeah.
to do that, but it's actually been quite helpful. So, and
Yeah.
Marissa, your
I'm an
virtual.
asshole sometimes, though, Tim. Watch out. So, you know.
Hey,
Well,
well, it's
but
like
it's very different on this, Tim. I want to pause you here.
I'll take your cat, Aaron.
Yeah, we all want Aaron's Chatty G. Send it our way. Is that by telling Marissa now that you're in that, I would say go find something you learned, message her and say, "Hey Marissa, I learned this from you. It had this impact. I'm making this choice, and I'll check back with you in 2 weeks and let you know how I've stayed on course." That's where accountability comes in. When we put it out in the universe, we name it with the person who's going to go. Because if you're just consuming our content and it's helping you think differently, but not requiring you to put a tent peg in a behavior change, it's just good information.
Yeah.
And good information doesn't make us change.
that's really good.
Actually, I was at a leadership event last week and they were talking about this lady that trains people and sales companies and CEOs on how to tell better stories, like all the right brand people. And what was really fascinating, but obviously not surprising, is that the amount of people that doesn't matter how much facts, data, and information you give people, if you do not have a story, they won't remember it and it doesn't matter. So I thought that was fascinating, really good stuff. And I put Aaron's chat out there, but I can text it to you too, to both of you
that'd be
guys.
great.
Yeah.
By the
There's
way,
a great book called Made to Stick. Made to
Yeah.
Stick is a great
Okay.
book on the power of stories
Cool.
and schemas and things like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll ask you about that later. That's good. Marissa, by the way, what you suggest on the virtual board is actually, from what I know about you, is actually pretty dang accurate. It's actually pretty good.
There's a lot out there. I think I've given a lot of things on different, there's a good potpourri. Aaron's is really good in terms of like all the scaling questions and leadership questions specifically.
Yep.
So we actually fed it every podcast interview he's ever done, every news appearance, every press article, I think over 100 different Zoom meetings. And so the information is pretty precise. So, and his book
Nice.
as well. So I just put it out there.
I've had
Well,
robots
wait.
following me for like 6 months in meetings now, listening to every word I say. So
Okay.
Can't wait to read the book.
sometimes
Yeah.
I'm
Awesome.
coherent.
You're pretty coherent. You're good. I do like the scoring. The AI scoring will tell Aaron if he's being coherent or not, which I think is great. It's funny to find coherent. Well, listen, we're getting down to our last couple minutes here. So, in the interest of time and loving everyone, I always like to give people 5 minutes back. That's the most corporate thing I've said in 5 years. Let me give you this 5 minutes back. But like, do you remember people telling you that and being like, excuse me? But I know Susie also has a commitment that she needs to get to as well.
I have a
So
hard
just wanna be
stop in
super-
5 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
so we can. Her poor husband is waiting at the airport for her, so she sacrificed for us and breakthrough. So lovingly, I think that's it. I think we're good. We're good. Let's give everybody their 5 minutes back. Everyone have a beautiful
Awesome.
day and take care. Have a beautiful day, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.